moon has always been the center of attraction for the human being. It was Apollo 11 which marked the first humans, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, to touch down the surface of moon for the first time in human history. Then several Apollo missions took place to collect data and sample for lunar study. It was the Apollo 17 which marked the end of human expedition to moon.
3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston.
Since then, for 50 years, no human mission to moon took place or plan. But suddenly in 2017, US government established Artemis program, whose main objective is to land astronauts on the moon and establish a base for the future expedition to Mars.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
On November 16, 2022, NASA launched Artemis 1 moon mission, whose sole purpose was to demonstrate Orion systems in a space flight environment and ensure a safe re-entry, descent, splashdown and recovery prior to the first flight with the crew on Artemis 2. But my question is, why NASA going back to moon after a half-century gap? To answer above raised question, I have divided the answer in 3 parts. NASA's ultimate goal is to put a man on Mars and to prepare the way for exploring deep space destinations. As the NASA's website puts it, after the launch of Artemis 1, quote, "In going to the moon, NASA is laying the foundation that will eventually enable humans' exploration of Mars. The moon will provide a proving ground to test technologies and resources that will take humans to Mars and beyond, including building a sustainable, reusable architecture. NASA wants to develop sustainable human presence on the moon, with missions lasting several weeks compared to just few days for Apollo. The ultimate goal is to better understand how to prepare for multi-year round trip to Mars. It is one of the isotopes of helium. Much speculation has been made over the possibility of helium-3 as the future energy source. Unlike most nuclear fusion reactions, the fusion of helium-3 atoms releases large amount of energy without causing the surrounding material to become radioactive. This is mind-boggling finding. The abundance of helium-3 is thought to be greater on the moon than on the Earth, having been embedded in the upper layer of regolith by the solar wind over billions of years, though still lower in abundance than in solar system's gas giant. Some estimates had been made that there could be as much as 1.1 million metric tons of it in the first several meters of the lunar surface. Now you might be thinking that even if we know that helium-3 is present on the lunar surface in huge amount, then do we actually have processes to extract it? The answer is yes. We have the following possible processes to extract helium-3 from regolith of moon. First one is thermodynamic processing, second one is electromagnetic processing, and third one is microbiological processing. In December 2020, China's National Space Agency's Chang'e 5 mission landed on the moon, collected 3.8 pounds of lunar material and then returned the sample to Earth, marking the first retrieval of moon material since the 1970s. A team from Beijing Research Institute of Uranium Geology managed to isolate a single particle of Chang'e Site Y from its sample. Chang'e Site Y contains helium-3, which is an attractive option for fueling nuclear fusion reactors. One of the NASA's Space Technology Research Fellow said in 2015 that of the various volatile material available on the moon, there is a potentially only one that has significant value back on Earth. In 1962, then US President John F. Kennedy shocked the world when he announced his plan to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. It was the height of Cold War, and America needed a big victory to demonstrate its space superiority after the Soviet Union had launched the first satellite and put the first man in orbit. Both countries began developing super heavy lift launch vehicles, with the US successfully deploying the Saturn V, which was large enough to send a 3-person orbiter and 2-person lander to moon. Kennedy's moon landing goal was achieved in July 1969 with the flight of Apollo 11, a single achievement America Americans believed overshadowed all Soviet achievements. Now with China as the US main competition today, as China is planning to send its first astronauts on the moon by 2030. NASA's boss Bill Nelson said in a recent interview, quote, "We don't want China suddenly getting there and saying this is our exclusive territory." There are also other reasons to why NASA is going back to moon, but from the broader picture these are insignificant, as we can see that there is not only one reason to go back to moon, whether it is to lay foundation for future expedition to Mars or science, but instead there's much more under the table. But whatever the reason behind that, I want all the people of Earth to work together for better future of humans without undermining the mother nature. If you like the video, please like, subscribe and share my channel.